You have to become okay with disappointing people. If you want to be happy, if you want to be authentic, if you want to be fulfilled, if you want to be in a good relationship, if you want to be successful, it doesn't matter what you want in your life. You will have to learn to disappoint people and be okay with it. It's part of life. And I know it's hard. Trust me, I know it's hard because, yeah, we don't want to disappoint the people that we love. And also, because we've developed a relationship with the idea of disappointment, that we think that people are going to stop loving us if we don't live up to their expectations all the time. We think that people are going to abandon us. We think that people are going to start hating us. We think that we're the worst people on the planet if we disappoint someone. So it's hard to deal with that feeling and with everything that comes with it, the fear, the guilt, but it's necessary. We cannot escape from this. So if you're also a person who struggles with the idea of disappointing someone, or if you're just stuck in life, in one of the areas of life, it might be because you're afraid of disappointing someone. Let me tell you this right now. If you're in any of these situations, come have a seat at the adults table and let's talk about it.
I'm Fernanda Rodriguez, and welcome to the Adults Table.
Listen, the idea of disappointment and the concept of disappointment is problematic and it's tough because, as I was saying, we create and we developed a relationship with it that is very negative and very unhealthy. We think that it doesn't matter the quote unquote size of disappointment. If we don't live up to someone's expectations on us, they're going to hate us, they're going to abandon us, they're not going to love us anymore. And what are we going to do without their love? Right. And this starts when we're very young. You don't want to disappoint your parents growing up. You look at them and you're so afraid of losing them and losing their love because you depend on it that you're like, I have to be the person and the daughter that my mom wants me to be, that my dad wants me to be. I remember growing up, I was a great kid. I didn't cause any troubles or anything. And I remember the only time, one time that I lied to my parents, they looked me in the eye and they said, we're not mad, we're disappointed. And if you've heard that in your life before, which you probably have, most of us have, you know that that hurts more than hearing a person say, I hate you, you suck, I'm very mad at you. Like hearing someone say, I'm disappointed in you, it hurts, it goes deep. So I remember not ever wanting to feel that feeling ever again. And by the way, my parents are great. My parents have never guilted me into doing what they wanted and said, hey, I'm disappointed in you. You're such a disappointment. Like they've never done this. But it's that dynamic that you're like, I love you so much that I want to do everything for you. I wanted to be proud of me and I want to do whatever it takes so you're proud of me. Thank God I'm not in that position anymore. But that transfers to life, to friendships, to relationships. So it's important that we're aware of it because we will have to disappoint people in order to live an authentic life and for other reasons as well that I'm going to cover in a second. But the other reason why I think this word is problematic is because some people use it in their favor just so they can keep you in a very unhealthy dynamic, an unhealthy relationship because they have you to do what they want, to keep them comfortable, to say what they want to hear, whatever that might look like. So the moment you start rejecting that space and that position, the moment you start saying no, the moment you start presenting your boundaries, the person kind of panics because they're forced to look at themselves. They're forced to look at their own lives and take responsibility and ownership and accountability over it. So, what do they want to do? They want to keep you in that same position that you've ever been. Even though there might be an unhealthy dynamic, even though that might not be good for neither parts, that's where they want to keep you, where it's comfortable. In those scenarios, a lot of people say, I'm so disappointed in you. You've disappointed me. They guilt you into believing that you're doing something horrible when actually you're doing something reasonable. But because it contradicts the kind of relationship and the dynamic that you've created, the person puts that on you. Okay, so let's dive deeper into this. Let's first talk about the reasons why you have to care about becoming good at being okay with disappointing people. I don't even know if what I just said made sense, but you see where I'm going. The second thing that I want to address is try to reshape the idea that we have about disappointment. And then the third piece is some tips and some actions that we can take to start becoming okay with it. First point, why do you have to care about this? First and foremost, I already started to talk about this. You will never be authentic and you'll never be whole, completed, in the most beautiful version of yourself if you don't become okay with disappointing people. Authenticity comes at such a high cost. It's expensive as fuck to be authentic because you have to disappoint people all the time. To be okay with not being the image that someone sees of you, to be okay with that and to own who you are is hard. But to pursue the life that you want, you will have to become comfortable with that. If you want to live a certain life, but you're saying, oh, but I cannot do this, I cannot move to that place because it's too far from my parents and they're going to be so disappointed. Oh, but I cannot pursue this career because my mom is going to be so disappointed. Oh, but I cannot date this person because my dad is going to be so disappointed. Like, at that point, you're just an extension of their lives. At that point, you're not even, I mean, if you're just living to please other people, if you're just living to make sure that they're happy, then who are you? Like, what do you live for? Just that's it? And sometimes society makes it sound like it's a noble thing to do, but it's not. You do a favor to other people by being the most authentic version of yourself. And yes, that's going to come at the expense of losing a ton of people in your life. That's going to happen. But it's either that or living somebody else's life. You pick your hard. Both scenarios are hard. We pick which one we're going to live with. And when I say disappoint people, I just want to make this very clear. I don't mean that you should be an asshole. You should be someone who completely disregards other people's feelings. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying for the smallest things in life and the decisions that we make or we don't make because we think they're going to hurt the person to the certain level or they're going to abandon us. I'm talking about breaking that pattern. I'm not talking about excusing your behavior because you say, hey, I suck, but it's okay because I'm being authentic. No, we have to care about people's feelings, but not, to that level that you give up your authenticity and living a life that makes sense to you. So we sacrifice our authenticity by wanting to please people all the time so we don't disappoint them. The second aspect, and I need you to pay attention to this one, is that we don't do anyone a favor by doing what they want all the time just so we don't disappoint them. We think that we do. We think that we have that power of making the person, super happy, the happiest person on earth. We think we're that special, right? And we think that by doing everything that the person wants all the time and by being who they want us to be every single hour of the day, we're making them happy and we're doing what's best for them. But a lot of times, and understanding this is important, a lot of times to love someone is to say no to them. It's to give them autonomy back. If I'm doing everything that a person should be doing for themselves, if every time a person has a struggle, I'm the one to quote unquote save them, then I'm taking away their autonomy completely. So, a lot of times to love someone, and we have to understand this, is to say no, is to set boundaries, is to disappoint them, is to let them get out of the fantasy and the idea that they have of what life is and put them back in reality. And sometimes what that means is, yeah, I'm not going to do what you're asking me. Hey, I'm not going to be able to do this or that. Sometimes it's saying something that they don't expect. And then the third reason why you have to care about this is that it's so much deeper than you think it is. It is going to impact every single aspect of your life. Because one thing is for us to say, hey, you have to learn how to disappoint people because I don't know if you have two birthday parties on the same night and both of your friends expect that you're going to give them your full attention and be there for 5 hours, you're going to have to disappoint one or the other. You don't have to be okay with it. That's one situation, very small situation. The impact of that, not big. And it's very clear, right? It's very clear that you have to disappoint one or the other. Now, the tricky thing about disappointment is that it's hidden in some of the most important decisions that we have to make in our lives. And sometimes we don't consciously see it. I'll give you an example. And I always use this example. But you come from a family that didn't have a lot of money growing up, and you want to be successful. But deep down, some part of you thinks that to be successful means to be vain, to be superficial, to be greedy, because you heard your family saying that when you were growing up. So even though your family wants what's best for you and they know that being successful is best for you, deep down, you might think that you're going to disappoint them because you're going to become that one thing that they said that people who have money are. You're going to become vain, you're going to become whatever. So you might stay in your own way and deep down avoid actually becoming successful because you don't want to disappoint them. The good things in life, happiness, and anything that you think is good also come with the feeling of betrayal, with betrayal of the group that you belong. It might be your family, it might be your friends, right? So if all of your friends do the same thing, they make the same choices and they have the same outcomes, if you make a different decision, you are deep down betraying them because you're choosing to act a different way. So our loyalty to the system a lot of times prevents us from creating the life that we want to create. And when I say system here is groups, okay? So by not wanting to disappoint them and betray them, you stay stuck in life, which is why being okay with disappointing people is so important because it's so much deeper than we see and that we know. So, how can we start changing the idea of disappointment in our heads? Here's what the dictionary says about what disappointed is. Disappointed, sad or displeased because someone or something has failed to fulfill one's hopes or expectations. With this in mind, we have to understand a few things. Number one, people's expectations are not always our responsibility. Why do I say not always? Because sometimes they are. Sometimes we made an agreement with someone, a clear expectation, and we just don't fulfill that. We fail to deliver on that. Then, yeah, our responsibility. But people's expectations can really be anything. The person might have a completely unrealistic expectation of what I can do, of who I am. So you cannot be responsible for that. Number two, objectively, it's impossible to fulfill everyone's expectations every time. Not only because expectations can mean anything, but because sometimes they're going to be conflicting. For example, the party example that I just gave, that's such a basic, stupid example. But if I have two birthday parties on the same night, one of them are going to be disappointed. Or there's going to be times that what someone wants from me is really against one of my values, the things that I prioritize. And I'm going to have to make a decision. And that decision is going to prioritize what I value. So I might have to disappoint my friend, my family member, my whatever. It's impossible to fulfill people's expectations all the time. And then the third thing that happens is that that expectation that we think others have sometimes is just in our heads. The same way as they can create whatever they want in their heads, a lot of times we create those expectations and we think that they have those expectations. Has it happened to you that you avoided saying something to someone or doing something and the person was really like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care about this. That's happened to me so many times. I'm like, I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to do this because so and so is going to think this, because so and so is going to be disappointed. When deep down, they didn't care. So I failed in communicating and I failed in understanding the expectations. But because we're so afraid of being abandoned and being rejected, we tell these stories to ourselves all the time. And we start avoiding reactions that wouldn't even happen. We have to start grounding those expectations, being vocal about them, understanding if we're on the same page, and being careful with our own minds and what we think people expect, the stories that we tell ourselves. So create a different idea of disappointment in your mind. Understand that it is a requirement to having relationships, to living an authentic life. It's gonna happen. Not every disappointment is the end of the world. And our brain sometimes doesn't understand that because it's so afraid of rejection and of losing someone. So, some of the actions that we can take, some of the things that can actually help us on a daily basis, being okay with disappointing people. Number one is to tell yourself and remind yourself that not every disappointment leads to abandonment. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you mess up big and the person says, hey, this is not for me. Sometimes a person is really just interested in keeping you in that unhealthy position. So they rather just find someone else that's going to fulfill that role. Fine, you're better off without them. But most times, or many times, it's just part of human relations. It's just part of life. So they're not going to abandon you. But to understand that, you have to practice that. You have to train your brain into understanding that it's safe to disappoint people, that it doesn't mean that you're gonna lose all of their love. So whenever you face a situation that you have to disappoint someone just so you don't go against your values or the things that actually matter to you on a deeper level, remember, yeah, I have to do this right now. I have to practice because I have to train my brain into understanding and making that connection that disappointment not always leads to abandonment. Number three, sit with your feelings. Stop avoiding the feelings that come from disappointing someone, the fear, the guilt. Let them exist. Because here's what we do: we say no to somebody, and then we see that they're disappointed, and then we cannot bear the feeling of guilt. And we want to completely cut off that feeling. So we go back and say, actually, no, never mind, I'll do it, because we don't want to deal with that feeling. But you have to create space for it. You have to learn how to deal with them. You have to sit with them and you have to let them exist, allow them to exist. It's part of this process. Create space to feel those feelings. And similarly, stop over apologizing. Let people deal with their own feelings, respect them. We see the person getting upset, so we start over apologizing. You don't have to. You have all the rights to say no to people, and you have to respect their reaction as well. If they had an expectation that they created, you never said that you would do something, but they created it, and they're having their expectations broken in that moment, they're gonna feel a certain way. That's fine. Let them feel it. I know it's hard. I know it eats us inside. We're like, oh my gosh, can you please just like be cool with me? Can you just like, can we be fine? But dude, you got to give the person the time as well. And it's hard, but give the person that space. And then last but not least, align expectations whenever you can. We create so many problems by just having unilateral expectations. I expect something from you, but I never communicate. You expect something from me and you never communicate. And we just create this idea in our heads and we never really talk about it. So we can and we should align expectations whenever we can. So we avoid disappointing people and we create healthier relationships. So become comfortable with disappointing people in a healthy level. Again, you don't have to become an asshole. You should not become an asshole, but become okay with that. To become your authentic self, you have to do it. You're not here to fulfill someone else's expectations all the time. You're not here to live up to their expectations all the time, to be what they want you to be. You're here to be a whole individual, to be the best version of yourself, to be the most complete version of yourself, and to be loved by it, and to love other people for being who they fully are. Stop running away from disappointment when it's aligned with your values, when it's aligned with your priorities, when it's aligned with who you are. Pick your battles. Don't be an asshole, but become okay with disappointing people. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next episode.